everyone. This is the May meeting of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3F. I'm Maliki Nugent. I'm the chair of the commission and the representative from 3F06. Let's go ahead and do roll call.
Good evening. I'm David Dickinson from ANC 3F01.
Hello, Naomi Ruttenberg, 3F03.
Pat Jakobczyk, 3F07.
Shirley Adelstein, 3F2.
Deirdre Brown, 3F04.
Okay, so we have a quorum being 4 commissioners present. So the first thing we'll do is approve the agenda. There are copies of the agenda on the document table in the back. Are there any amendments or changes to the agenda?
With regard to item number 5, the grant application from Hearst Elementary, we had decided at our last ANC meeting in April to refine the application, get a little bit of further information in order to take a vote on it this month. I have not been in touch with Andrea. I know Andrea had been working a little bit with the autism teachers from Hearst. So I don't know whether we have a final version of the application tonight to vote on. So I would, I guess, make a motion to further our exception on this and to vote on it at our next ANC meeting, I guess in June, unless there's a basis to vote tonight.
There is a basis to vote tonight. The revised application is on the website. I can talk through briefly what the revisions were, but I don't think anybody from Hearst is here to answer any questions. So if people haven't read through the revised application and we don't have anyone to answer questions, then it may make sense to table.
If despite my motion, perhaps if you can describe it, I didn't realize it was on the website, and if the commissioners are comfortable enough to vote.
Is there a recommendation from the committee?
The recommendation from the committee is to approve the revision.
Okay. All right, then I'm fine with it on the agenda. Thank you.
They made minor modifications to it to increase the amount of cost sharing that was happening, so the amount declined by about $400. They took on some of the costs.
And they made it to the PTA rather than
detail.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Sorry. So
sorry.
we will continue with it. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Item 2, 40, or maybe 3, 4024 Linian. We're going to move that to next month. At item 7. Okay. We're going to move that to next month. That was moved back at the. Their hearing was moved back once again, so they'll be submitting a revised plan, and we should hopefully be able to discuss it at the June meeting.
Okay. So we'll take that off of the agenda for tonight. Anything else? No? Okay. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so passes. So we'll move on to commissioner updates. Excuse me. Oh, let me just, sorry, I should have done some housekeeping things. I want to remind everyone that we are streaming the meeting live online. Anybody who's watching online can send us questions and use the chat box on the live stream. So anybody who wishes to speak in the meeting, we ask that you come and speak into this microphone. It's not only amplified in the meeting room, but also that broadcast for the people watching online. And there are 3 copies of the documents that we'll be considering tonight in the room here. Everything else is online. Everything that we're considering tonight is online, and we have 3 hard copies in the room. If they're not in the back, then somebody has them, and we ask that you share. We're moving away from printing 20 copies of everything for every meeting. Okay. So with that, commissioner updates. I'll start just one. The National Park, this is related to the Beach Drive rehabilitation. The National Park Service will have a meeting to talk about the next segment of the Beach Drive rehabilitation. That's the segment that affects us in ANC 3F. There will actually be 2 meetings covering the same information. Tuesday, sorry, forgot to mention, since Andrea's not here, we need someone to take minutes. Any volunteers? Sorry. Can't have a meeting unless we take minutes.
How much?
Just take notes.
Signatures. All right.
Sorry, I forgot about
2 or
that.
3 bullets is fine on each.
Doesn't have to be detailed, just basically any decisions that we take.
Agenda approved.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. So this is a Beach Drive Rehabilitation Project meeting, Tuesday, May 23rd, 7 to 8 p.m. at the Chevy Chase Neighborhood Library, and then again Wednesday, May 24th, 7 to 8 p.m. at the Petworth Neighborhood Library. This announcement is on our website on the issues page, so you can go see it there and see all the details. 7 to 8 p.m. Tuesday the 23rd in Chevy Chase, and Wednesday the 24th in Petworth. Okay. David?
Hi, good evening. I have just a few announcements. With regards to UDC, just a reminder that it is graduation season. I've been informed that there might be a variety of events over the next few weeks. I don't have any particular dates other than this Friday is the law school graduation at 2 o'clock, so congratulations to those students. Speaking of the law school, there's an event this Thursday at 7 p.m. Regarding money and politics and the reform of D.C. laws pertaining to a variety of financial issues, I assume, and that'll include the Attorney General Racine and Councilwoman Silverman. I think we have somebody, Mary Beth Ray from Van Ness Main Street, that will be speaking to the farmers market that commences this Saturday. I'll defer to her. Also, in the event, or because I bike to work every day, and because I bike to work down Connecticut Avenue every day, and because I see SUVs with Democratic stickers on them, driving SUVs by themselves, it is my pleasure to announce the Bike to Work Day this Friday. If you need more information, that can be found at WABA, which stands for the Washington Area Bicycling Association, waba.org. They have a Bike to Work event where they gather at Freedom Plaza every year, and a couple thousand people show up. There are arteries from around the city and from outside the city that come in, and it's a tremendous event with congressmen often there and the mayor and others. So as we think about a sustainable and livable city, put your money where your mouth is or your legs where your bike is. Also wanted to take the opportunity to let folks know that I testified at a DPR budget hearing about a month or so ago and focused primarily on Hearst Park, and wanted people to remind people that we, the ANC, passed a resolution in April, and the Cleveland Park Citizen Association passed its version of a resolution on February 28th. Neither one of those resolutions said that another site should be selected, so there have been articles appearing in various newspapers, including the Northwest Current, letters to the editor, and I just wanted to correct the record, speaking for myself on behalf of the ANC as well, that our resolution did not suggest another site be chosen, and that did not indicate that this was a sloppy process to date. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to let the community know that the property at 3101 Albemarle Street Northwest, the house, received landmark designation from the Historic Preservation Review Board at their meeting a couple weeks ago. Sorry, the date has slipped my mind. Plans are moving forward for the Rock Creek Conservancy to move into the property. There's a letter of intent with the developer, and they're discussing what needs to be done for that to happen. And forthcoming, there will be a planned unit development proposal for the rest of the property, and the developer will be presenting to the ANC about those plans.
Thank you.
I have two announcements. Because I walk home from work every day, and because David and others bike on Connecticut Avenue, we talked at the last meeting about some traffic enforcement issues at the intersection of Porter and Connecticut. Happy to report that Lieutenant Fleming and our former representative, the PSA 203 Sergeant Warren Hughes, were able to put some enforcement mechanisms out during evening rush hour last month. They promised to continue monitoring that intersection. I know it's a lot of conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles there, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. I also wanted to give an update for the Tilden Hall construction project because of the amount of rain we've had. Their construction schedule has been moved back. Right now, they're planning on finishing up toward the last week of May, the first week of June for the pre-leasing period, and they hope to have residents in at the beginning of July. So my thanks to them for their working with the community on issues that pop up during the construction process, and my thanks to the community for their patience throughout it all.
Okay. Okay.
Just one announcement. I wanted to note that the next ANC 3F2 quarterly community meeting will be taking place on June 6th at 7:30 p.m. in the first floor social room of 3003 Van Ness, and that meeting is open to any resident of ANC 3F2. Please email me if you have any questions about that. Thanks. It's June 6th at 7:30 p.m. The location is 3003 Van Ness Street Northwest on the first floor community room. This is the ANC 3F2 quarterly community meeting. It's open to any residents of 3F2.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to committee reports. Nothing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do just a quick one on streets and sidewalks. The Streets and Sidewalks Committee met on May 10th. I unfortunately was not able to make the meeting, so I can't speak to the content, but from the chair of the committee, I hear that it was a successful meeting. They talked about the successful survey of streets and sidewalks issues around the ANC. We had about 20 people go out and survey street and sidewalk issues across our ANC, put it into a database, and the committee will now start looking at compiling that information, analyzing it, looking at what the priorities should be, and will make a recommendation to the commission then. For anybody who hasn't completed the survey yet, there is still time, so please continue to walk the blocks and enter in information into the survey on our website. Grants Committee, do you want to say something about the database that you put together, or not? Is that not ready for prime time yet?
Well, I mean, I'll just note that, as always, we are taking steps to improve our processes for tracking grants and making the process seamless and accountable. So we're currently developing a new tracking system to make sure that we are receiving all the documentation that's required as part of the process on time, and we're going to try to take some steps to align our communication with grantees with our new biannual schedule. So for those of you who are grantees or hope to be grantees, we're going to be following up more regularly as part of that initiative.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to the Community Open Forum. This is the part of the meeting when anybody in the community who wishes to speak, make an announcement of public interest, is welcome to do so. We ask that you come down and use this microphone. There are some chairs reserved for you down here. And we ask simply that you don't speak to issues that are on the agenda elsewhere.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Lee, and I'm from the Sheridan School. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations. and I'm here to provide just a very brief overview of an upcoming playground renovation that we have. We do plan to come back and appear on the agenda in June. Just very briefly, we'll be planning to renovate our half-acre playground. It will be an in-kind renovation, and so we plan on maintaining the existing footprint. We do plan on maintaining earth movement below 5,000 square feet. We also plan to bring elements of our mountain campus to the playground, so we're looking for equipment that's nature-inspired, wood, rocks, also looking to inspire the creativity of the children, so loose pieces and that type of equipment. We are currently working with 2 contractors and hope to make a decision tomorrow, and immediately following contract negotiations and then final design review and timeline confirmation. We plan to return, as I said, to the June meeting and bring the contractor with us to present the more finalized design plans. Any questions, comments?
I have 2 quick questions, and I know you'll come back in June. I hope in June maybe to hear a little bit about the organic infill that you'll be using on the turf field.
Okay.
Glad to see that in your plans, but love to hear what you or the contractor have in mind. And you mentioned the 5,000 square feet, and I know several of us on the commission are always interested in stormwater issues. I don't know if that triggers a stormwater control mitigation, but regardless, we'd love to hear about your intentions with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Do you want to show the boards?
Yes, absolutely.
Hold it for the board. You want to do it? Lou Baladamus, I'm the architect for the school. This north is this way. Sorry. The artificial field will be placed in its current footprint, and we're only replacing the fabric. The substrate will remain and just be cleaned up. They'll vacuum out any of the crumb rubber infill that's there now. This shows a bioretention area, which we're going to stay under the 5,000 square feet, so we won't need that. The ball court is going to get resurfaced, but it's going to get reduced in size, and we're going to use athletic surfacing on part of it. We're adding in several trees on the property and making some ADA improvements as well.
Okay, so we'll look forward to seeing you next month with the more detailed plans from the contractor.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have a date, so in addition to returning here to present, we do plan to have a meeting with our community liaison. We do not have a date yet. We'd like to make sure that we coordinate with our general contractor so they know about the June date. For ANC, we have not reached out to confirm a date for the community meeting. So we do not have that date available, but we'll send that out through our email link with the community.
Hello, I'm from 636 Alton Place, and we're right next to Sheridan. And I have 2 issues I want to bring up. One is, I don't know why they couldn't come to us first before coming to the ANC. It seemed like, they sort of jumped over the neighbors, and I only knew it from your email. Thank you very much. The other thing is, are you aware it is a stream bed, the playground? There was a stream there that was filled in, and you might want to keep that in mind as far as the flowing of water is concerned. Because when you said the thing about the water drainage and everything, that is a real issue because we've lived there over 40 years, but when we moved in, the people across the street had lived there since the 30s, and their kids played in the park that was there, the trees and the stream, and that's maybe why Sheridan probably has water in the basement. Probably have some place because of that's where the stream was, and I thought that was relevant. And I certainly hope that Sheridan is going to make an effort to coordinate with the neighbors who are getting a little bit anxious because we've lived through other Sheridan constructions which were disruptive. And like, for instance, 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, construction crews were there. So we want Sheridan to be aware of that and hope that that kind of thing is put to the contractor.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Malik. When was this renovation planned for? Is it this summer or next summer?
This summer. Construction probably starting in July and trying to be complete September. I doubt it'll get done by the time school starts, but sometime in September.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Ian Maggard. I'm the Ward 3 liaison for Mayor Bowser's office. I have a few quick updates. The mayor amended the proposed fiscal year 18 budget. Now includes an additional $3.8 million investment for DC public schools and $3.2 million investment for the public charter schools. This raises the amount increase per pupil funding to $112 million, which is about 2% per pupil funding. And also the fiscal year 18 proposed budget has a $1.3 billion increase for proposed continued modernization of schools. I will also be with the mayor participating on Friday with for Bike to Work Day. One thing that Commissioner Dickinson didn't mention is that there will actually be stations throughout the district at select metro stations where they'll have water, T-shirts, but also maintenance, free maintenance for your bicycle as well.
Yeah, and I not to interrupt you, but last year I know there was one at the Van Ness metro station. So if you look at the WABA.org site, that'll probably list them, and hopefully we were basically near the Starbucks there.
No, yeah, and last year there was also Friendship Heights that I knew of in Ward 3. But you would have to look at the WABA website. And then also something else that we're very proud of, when the mayor came into office, one of her biggest initiatives was to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. With the Interagency Council on Homelessness in D.C., we created the Homeward D.C. plan. It's been implemented, and it focused on ways to prevent homelessness, help families that are in emergency situations, and also prevent families from returning to experiencing homelessness. So last week we released the results from our point-in-time count, and it's a one-night count. And I believe this year was January 24th. We've taken part in it the last 3 years. Every year the mayor's been in office. And so what happens is hundreds of volunteers get together on that one night, and they canvass the entire city and look for the residents who are experiencing homelessness. And it's probably the most accurate snapshot of how many families and how many individuals are experiencing homelessness in the district on a single night. So what our point-in-time count results revealed was that in 1 year we've reduced homelessness, individuals experiencing homelessness overall by 10.5%, and families experiencing homelessness overall by 21.8%. So we still have a lot of work to do, but we definitely see that as a positive result. So if you have any community issues or concerns, feel free to email me or give me a call. I'll be here for the meeting. Thank you.
Yep. Mr. Maggard, thank you so much for coming to each of these ANC meetings. We really appreciate a presence from the mayor's office.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You had raised a point about an increased funding for the DC public schools.
Yeah, it's called an errata letter.
Okay.
They're with every mayor, every budget issues an errata letter to the council every year.
So she released her initial budget at some later point in time, perhaps as the council is reviewing and doing their hearings. There's this errata budget. Is that letter available on the mayor's website? Where is that?
It should be on the LIMS website, but I can get you a copy. No problem.
In brief, I know that our students in the ANC attend Wilson High School, and as you obviously know, there's been a heightened concern about potential staffing cuts at Wilson. Can you briefly explain what this $3.8 million is designed to do and whether any of that will go toward that staffing issue at Wilson?
So we don't, when we fund schools, that goes through DCPS.
Right.
So DCPS makes those.
What discretion does the chancellor have to take any of the 3.8 and give it to Wilson? Can it take all of it, for example?
I'm not sure the discretion he has, but I'd be more than happy to get back to you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just 1 second. Any other questions? No. Okay. Thank you.
This on? Can you hear me? Okay. So we're back. I'm Tanya Hedgepeth. I'm the Construction Outreach Coordinator with DC Water. I was here last month with another one of our project managers to discuss a small diameter water main replacement project. And this project that we're presenting tonight actually came up. So I'm here tonight with Naika Roberson Ramos. She's the project manager for the water main cleaning, lining, and replacement project for North Cleveland Park. And I always have this same spiel, but I like to say it anyway. As most of you know, the infrastructure in DC is very old, and water infrastructure is not exempt from that. In most instances, the water infrastructure is beyond 100 years old, and much of the work that you see DC Water doing now should have been done 20 or 30 years ago, which is why you see so many construction projects now, because we're trying to play catch up. So needless to say, this project will improve water quality, improve system reliability, increase water pressure in some areas, and maintain adequate flows throughout the system. The scope of the work will entail the replacement of several valves, as well as the cleaning and lining of several 8-inch water mains. They may not need to be replaced, but sometimes in order to extend the life of them, they'll clean them and line them to make them last a lot longer. They will install new 8-inch and 6-inch water mains in several locations. If you want to know where those are, Naika has her plans here. I know we don't have a lot of time to present, but if you want more additional information, we'll wait in the hall in the back for those who want to chat with us. The locations are in and around Springland Lane, Tilden Street, Rodman Street, Reno Road, and Idaho Avenue. Does not mean that the work will occur on each of those streets, but it's just in and around them. I provided a project information sheet which details the project, and there's also a map on the back that shows you exactly where the work will take place. The construction start date is June of 2017. However, you won't likely see us in the field until late June or early July. So there is a couple of weeks off from that. I know Naika is still waiting on some permits. We have most of them, but there's still some coming in. And the construction end date is February of 2019. The work hours are 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. However, in cases of inclement weather, if we get behind on schedule, there could be evening or night work, but we'll try to keep that at a minimum. Some possible impacts. This is a water main project. Unfortunately, there will be parking impacts, and I know in DC parking is a premium. But we will do our best to minimize parking impacts. And as you know, our no parking zones, our requirement is to post no parking signage within 72 hours prior to construction. And these are approved by DDOT. There could be, as the water mains are being worked on, there could be some discolored water in there. It doesn't mean anything necessarily bad, but just like, with anything, you're taking something out, putting something else in, there could be some things that get jarred or the like. So if this does occur, just run your water for about 15 minutes. It should clear up. If you have any concerns about water quality, we do have a water quality division, and they can be reached at 202-612-3400. They could provide you with a water testing kit. It looks like an old school milk jug. They'll bring it to you. You fill it up. They'll test your water to see if there are any contaminants in it. They'll come back and pick it up, and then in a couple weeks they'll tell you if there are any issues with your water. 202-612-3400 is actually listed on the back here as well. Traffic control. There will be flaggers available to direct traffic around the construction work zones. And as far as the schedule, I do believe this is going to be done in 3 phases. The first will be on Reno Road, the second on Springland, and the third on Idaho. Because we don't have all the approved permits yet, we don't know exactly when we'll start in each and what the durations will be. It'll determine on a variety of different factors, but just to let you know, Reno, Springland, Idaho, that's typically where it'll take place. And that is it for me. If you have any additional questions, we can answer them now. Like I said, if we go over, we'll stay a few minutes after and we'll meet you out in the hallway.
So I have one question for you. You mentioned that there may be circumstances in which you'd have to do nighttime work. Would you be sure to give the community ample notification of that?
Absolutely.
At least 72 hours?
Yeah, we can do that. Unless it's some type of an emergency, something that they can't foresee, then we'll make sure that we definitely give you 72-hour notice.
Any other? David?
Given that this is in my SMD, I hope you indulge me. I have a couple quick questions. During the work, will there be an interruption of water supply?
It should not be, no. In advance, we'll install bypass piping, so there should not be any discontinuation of service.
Okay. And this is just the water main, the water supply. It's not any stormwater or sewage piping or anything.
Right, that's correct, yes.
The scope of the work, you orally described it as Tilden, Idaho, Springland, Rodman, etc. And the map on the back just shows Idaho and Springland and a little bit of Reno. So my question is any of Tilden Street affected, and is any of Rodman Street, in fact, affected by this?
Only just the intersections.
Sorry?
Only just the intersections. Only just the intersections.
The intersections.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, wherever now in Rodman.
We're replacing balls at the intersections of Tilden.
Okay. And then my last question is, given the work that will be taking place on Idaho Avenue, that's, as you know, is a right-of-way. It's actually not a street, but that's also abuts Hearst Park, where there's been a lot of discussion about a variety of environmental issues, including stormwater and runoff issues and drainage issues, and a tremendous amount of water in any significant rain event that flows through this Idaho Avenue area and down into Springland Lane. So it's a bit, my words, a bit ironic that you're doing this project and with regard to water, but is there any coordination, is there any sense that you guys will be working with DOEE or others to take advantage of the fact that you're in there at Idaho Avenue, and if you are digging up any pipes, that you try to control any drainage or stormwater issues?
Unfortunately, that's not included in the construction scope. The drainage, no.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay.
Well, thank you. If you have any other...
Thing,
go ahead.
just about the schedule. I know it says 10 to 3. I know schedules can change. That particular stretch of Reno right there, especially northbound, can get really congested, especially around rush hour. If for some reason you extend your hours, I would recommend a traffic control officer or of some sort to help alleviate congestion if a lane is closed in that area. So if you guys go along there and are impeding on rush hours, please keep that in mind.
Yes, I have the traffic control plans with me as well if you wanted to take a look. They've been approved by DDOT, so we'll have to follow the plans.
Okay. Yeah, your normal hours between 10 and 3, I don't envision much problem. But if you do extend it, please keep that in mind.
Okay, we'll do.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. It's so nice to be back. I miss you guys.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Mary Beth Ray, former ANC 3F3 commissioner. I am here on behalf of MS Main Street. Our fearless executive director, Teresa Cameron, is celebrating her 25th anniversary tonight. So we wish her well. So I just want to let you all know all the exciting things that are going on in the neighborhood. The first thing, as David mentioned, is our farmers market at UDC kicks off this Saturday. And so I've got flyers for you all. On the back of the flyer are all the different performances and chef demonstrations that we have coming up. So on May 20th, this Saturday, we've got John Henry, the guitar playing man, and it's a family concert. So that should be a great way to get the kids out and really kick off a wonderful season. And as always, we're delighted to work with UDC, our partners, on many things, as I'll talk about further. The second thing I wanted to mention is our Jazz at VN series. Our next concert is coming up on May 25th. We're trying to schedule these on the, I think it's the the last Thursday of the month from 5:30 to 7:30 for live jazz. And this month we're doing something really different. It's going to be at Calvert Woodley. I can't imagine where they're going to put the music, but there will be tastings. So please mark your calendar and come for that. The Italian Pizza Kitchen won a grant, a Great Streets grant, for $43,000. And as you all know, that's one of the things that Van Ness Main Street works very hard on to connect with our merchants. This is our third out of three, as Commissioner Jakovchik just reminded me. They're using the grant for interior work, and I don't know the details, but I'm sure it's really going to make a great difference. We want to, of course, join the chorus of congratulations for our Mark Furstenberg, James Beard winning at Bread First. Really exciting. I know they're planning a little celebration. I'm not sure about the details, but it'll probably be on their website. The Albemarle Corner signage work is continuing. One of the legs, if you will, of the Van Ness Main Street platform is design work, improving the facade of our neighborhood businesses. And so we've done some work taking down the canopies, but we're going to work some more on the signs in the next few weeks. Thank you to those of you who came to our annual meeting. This is a copy of our annual report. I have extra copies, but I'll just send that one down in case nobody got to see it. And finally, I just wanted to draw your attention to, let's see, this is Wednesday, May 10th, Northwest Current, and there's a wonderful editorial on Van Ness Visionaries. And as those of you who attended our annual meeting know, Marlene Berlin was awarded the first Van Ness Visionary Award. And thank you to Marlene and also to Davis for sending us good news. That's all. Thank you.
Very well deserved. Thank you. Nels, did you want to say anything about UDC? No? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Moving on. So the next item on our agenda is the resolution supporting the Friends of Forest Hills Playground Concert Series.
So the Friends of Forest Hills Playground would like to do a third annual summer concert series. They've put in a permit from DPR. They've also put in, included in that permit is information regarding, it's three times over the summer, June 23rd, July 28th, and August 25th from 5:30 to 7:30 with a live band performing from 6 to 7:30. Sure. June 23rd, July 28th, and August 25th from 5:30 to 7:30. The band starts at 6 at the Forest Hills Playground. They're hoping to have Ormond's Pizza, sell pizza and food and beverage. They have a flyer that they're going to distribute to neighboring houses on Chesapeake Street, Brandywine Street, and 32nd Street. They're trying to keep it just neighborhood, people who can walk to the park. In addition, part of their permit request is there will be a porta potty on site. And I would like to present a letter in support of the concert.
Okay. Could you read the letter out since we don't have a copy?
I put in here, so the title is Letter of Support for the Friends of Forest Hills Playground, 3rd Annual Summer Concert Series from ANC 3F on DPR Permit Request Number 44357. Motion for a letter of support for the use of the amphitheater located at the Forest Hills Playground on June 23, 2017, July 28, 2017, and August 25, 2017 from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. with a live band performing from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. This event is sponsored by the Friends of Forest Hills Playground. Commissioner Brown respectfully submits a motion for ANC 3F to approve the request for permit request number 44357 to be issued by the Department of Parks and Recreation and submitted by Kirsten Gilbert, co-president of the Friends of Forest Hills Playground.
Okay. Is there a second? Any discussion on the motion? No. I have one amendment.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest that you change the word approve to support. So we don't actually approve the permit, but we can support it, support their application.
What times did you say the bands are for?
They're going to start at 6 and go until 7:30.
6 to 7.
Yeah, but the event starts at 5:30.
The bands go from 6 to 7:30?
Yes, that's what they said.
In the motion that you read, I thought you said 7 to 7.
No, it's at 6
Oh,
to
6 to
7.
7:30. Okay. Anything else? Okay. No further. Anything from the audience? Okay. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
Passes 6-0-0. Okay. Sorry, I seem to have jumped ahead. Next item is the grant application. This is so I'll introduce it quickly. It's the application from the Hearst Elementary School PTA for funds to purchase equipment to support the autism classroom at Hearst Elementary. Now, we heard from the applicant 2 months ago. We tabled the application last month to have them make some changes to the application, to change the name of the applicant. It has to come from a 501c3 organization, so they did that. They refined that. And also they, as Shirley was mentioning, they went through and they are doing some cost sharing, so it brought down the cost of the grant, of the application, to $3,661. So included in the application is a table of all of the things that they will purchase for the classroom, with an asterisk next to the one that we would be financing, our grant would be financing. So on the basis of the discussions that we've already had and these revisions to the application, the grant committee recommends approval of this grant. So I guess I will make a motion to approve the application for a grant of $3,661 to Hearst Elementary PTA for to support the autism program. Second.
I'd like to just have a brief discussion. I just wanted to highlight that this autism program, for those that are unaware, is a model for the district, and that there are actually several classrooms that participate in the autism program. There's a program for kindergarten through second, and then a separate program for third through fifth graders. So it again is a model for the city. A variety of students on the spectrum are at Hearst, but also the traditional classrooms, I've been informed, are going to be able to take advantage of some of the equipment. So I think it's a true asset for our community, and I appreciate the commission taking it up for approval.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, that's correct.
On the application, it actually says 3,661. The agenda says 60. Yeah.
Is that now reduced with the cost share? Okay.
No, that's the adjusted amount. The original amount was
4122.51.
correct, 4122.51.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? All right. So we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve this application?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Passes 6-0-0. Great. Thank you. So now, just in time, we moved to the resolution on our proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan. So, as you're all well aware, we've been working on these amendments to the comprehensive plan of the national capital for the past several months. I made a presentation about the comprehensive plan last month, and so the commission has gone through. Commissioners have all gone through and read various parts of the plan, suggested amendments, and we've had a lot of people from the community also weigh in. We're very grateful to Van Ness Main Street for their input. Also UDC, we've had some constituents, and the Parks and Trails Subcommittee also weighed in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have a very comprehensive set of proposed amendments to the plan. Now it's been online for a week. Everybody's had a chance to read it for over a week now. What I want to do here is just highlight the few changes that we made today, incorporating some last-minute input. So you may not have seen these changes. We made some changes to some mentions of UDC, just some editorial changes to emphasize the fact that rather than calling for better coordination with the community, to emphasize the fact that we are already coordinating well with UDC and calling for that to continue. We also added some edits to Volume 1, Chapter 6, the environmental protection element on preventing erosion. So I'll read that for the community. It says, ensure that public and private construction activities do not result in soil erosion or the creation of unstable soil conditions. Support the use of retaining walls and other best management practices that reduce erosion hazards. And then we're proposing to add the sentence, engage the public regarding stormwater runoff issues and promote retrofits for existing properties. Let's see, Volume 1, Chapter 8, Parks and Recreation, the open space element. In the section on tributary parks, we're proposing to add a sentence that reads, create and maintain hiking and walking paths along tributary streams as appropriate to protect habitats, minimize erosion, and preserve trees. And in the section on connecting the city through trails, this sentence reads, key trail building initiatives include the Anacostia Riverwalk and Fort Circle Park's hiking trail, the Metropolitan Branch Trail between Union Station and Silver Spring, the Watts Branch Trail, the Georgetown Waterfront Trail, and we're proposing to add the Broad Branch Road connection between the Western Ridge Trail and Soapstone Valley Trail to that list. So those are the changes that we have made to the document since the version was posted online last week. So I will start by making a motion to approve the resolution. Well, actually, I should read the resolution, at least the operative clause. So excuse me. Find it. Okay. So in the resolution, we go through and note the various elements of the plan that we're addressing. And then, therefore, be it resolved that ANC 3F proposes specific amendments to the comprehensive plan of the national capital as described in the attachment to this resolution. So, with that, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Commissioner Dickinson?
Yeah, I have a couple of items. Some of these are just, or most of these are editorial, and they're just friendly suggestions or friendly amendments. I'm just going to use the page numbering that I have, which I think we all have. On page 1, the third clause from the bottom, after the first comment says, including the continued strain of overcrowding and a lack of diverse and educational choices, I would change diverse to diversity. On page 3, with regard to the overview and the bullet items there, the second to last item says promoting transit-rich development and walkability. I would ask that the Commission consider the concept of sustainability overall here. I don't see it mentioned. I thought perhaps here we could say promoting transit-rich, sustainable development and walkability. This is for your consideration.
Transit-rich, sustainable development.
Right.
That's volume 1, chapter 3 in the overview.
Land use on page 3 of the document. There's a list
The
of
first
bullet.
page of the amendments.
You with me?
Oh, these were added later?
These are our suggested changes in the red line, and I'm just editing that particular
I thought these were
suggestion.
later suggested changes.
This should be everything in the red is what we're asking the city to add to the existing plan.
So the rest of this is kind of based from the document.
All of this, everything in black, already exists.
If I can continue then. On policy RCW 1.1.12, page 9, continuing on to 10, it's congestion management measures. Plan that land use decisions to mitigate congestion and parking. I would suggest that we insert the word transportation so that the sentence reads, plan that land use and transportation decisions to mitigate congestion.
That's instructive.
Again, this is the page 9 continuing on to page 10, congestion management measures. It starts, our suggestion was that it say plan land use decisions to mitigate congestion and parking problems. And I'm suggesting that we say plan that land use and transportation decisions to mitigate congestion and parking problems.
So adding and transportation after
Right.
land use.
And I apologize for not having the discussion beforehand with the commissioners, but I do have a question about some of the emphasis in the same section, primarily in the comment section that talks about off-street parking. There seems to be a lot of emphasis of that along the Connecticut corridor and the Van Ness area. I'm just wondering what the genesis of that was, and if that's public who's promoting that, and whether when we think about sustainability and walkability, whether we're promoting further car usage on Connecticut Avenue and further congestion in an already congested area. I recognize that there is a parking need, but I think over the long term, using critical land for off-street parking is not necessarily a wise decision. So I'm wondering where this is coming from and who introduced this language.
In the comment,
Right.
What was the comment?
the comment,
And
an increase in commercial businesses will lead to more congestion and parking issues. As more restaurants were added to the 4400 block of Connecticut, residents have noticed a sharp increase in a lack of street parking. As more street-level retail is both desired and encouraged, every opportunity to add more off-street public parking to the area should be pursued aggressively.
Oh, I added that.
I think that was your addition. Do you want to speak to that? Or?
Can I hear you louder? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I added that comment. So we have this ongoing conversation. I think I've heard it a couple of times in Van Ness Main Street about how we want to bring other people to the neighborhood and make it a destination. And one of the complaints or comments we've heard is that there's no parking, or there's limited parking, or people can't find parking. And so that's why I added that comment. If you wanted to make it a destination, that is a consideration when people are thinking about going somewhere is, am I going to be able to find parking?
Right. My concern is that, and I'm glad you pointed out that there's perhaps a lack of adequate information for the available parking that already exists. And I'm pretty concerned that with the comprehensive plan that we're sending a strong signal that we want more parking or off-street parking in this area. So I don't know how to balance what we already have versus all the other livability, walkability, overview policy goals that we have, whether it's smart to promote more off-street parking before we have a firm understanding of what's currently being used and whether we're at capacity currently or not. I don't know if others from Van Ness Main Street or others, the commissioners know, but one, I'd like to, as a threshold matter, understand whether we're at capacity. And then if we're not, I certainly wouldn't recommend this language. But even if we are, I'm not sure it's consistent with smart growth and a sustainable, walkable community to invite more cars into the area.
So would your suggestion be to have more businesses come into the area but not require additional parking, to make parking a premium in Van Ness and drive more people to the metro? Is that the idea?
Well, you're introducing respectfully a potentially different issue if you're trying to encourage more retail to the area and making it conditional on those new retail applications to have parking or to identify parking. That I see that potentially different than let's just go build a 2,000 car parking garage for off-street parking. I don't see the nexus there that we're tying this to new retail applications as opposed to just this broader general need for more parking in the area.
Yeah, I didn't understand this to mean build a parking garage.
Right.
Yeah.
I understood it to mean, like Park Van Ness, make sure that there is public parking available in new developments. But maybe
I can see where Commissioner Dixon, this is somewhat strong language. Every opportunity to add more off-street public parking to the area should be pursued aggressively. That's a strong.
You can tone it down a little bit, but I stand by that because I know that as more retailers come in, parking is at a premium. It's very difficult, especially on the weekends, to find parking. And then during the week, on the rush hours where you can't park on Connecticut, there is no parking.
Well,
and I know at Park Van Ness they have 15 public parking spaces that are always full. I know because I have to drive through it to get out the unit. They're just very limited parking. If we're going to add retail and we want people to actually come here for the retail, we got to have some place for them to park. Everyone's not going to catch Metro or ride their bike. I mean, we've had conversation about
parking,
people.
to be fair, the last parking study I saw for the neighborhood indicated we weren't using it to capacity. I know there's a garage on this property that hardly gets used. Right. There's other parking opportunities, and so I know during rush hour people have to move their cars off of Connecticut. But I don't know if it's simply a question of adding more capacity. I don't know that we are at capacity right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can tone it down if you like. It was a suggestion. I will say that I would like to see the parking study. I can tell you anecdotally, just having people come visit, is impossible to find parking, and that's an ongoing issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it might be in certain parts of Van Ness, like perhaps further, north, like the new development. I wasn't aware that it was being used as. I'm glad that it is. But yeah.
Well, in the interest of problem solving, I wonder or looking for solutions here if we, and something along the lines, and don't quote me yet, just explore opportunities to enhance the usage of current parking, as well as opportunities for new retail locating to the area to provide, an adequate or minimum level of parking. I don't want there to be this precedent here or judgment before we really know what our current inventory is to expect new restaurants or new businesses or new developments tied with UDC or otherwise to aggressively pursue parking as part of their equation. I just don't think that's sustainable or necessarily appropriate here. So again, I like the idea of, I know Van Ness Main Street has looked at, signage or forget the term that's used, but just notifying drivers where existing parking exists. I'm pretty convinced that it's not fully utilized. So enhancing our existing parking as well as identifying opportunities for other off-street parking is appropriate for new retail locations.
Is someone able to speak to the findings of the latest parking study? Because I haven't read that. I've heard about it. You may have folks in the audience who know more about it.
So I would make a suggestion then for that particular comment. We have it say something like, as more street-level retail is both desired and encouraged, every opportunity to make full use of existing off-street parking, I need a verb in there somewhere.
This is for the comment or
the comment.
And the provision within there. Is that, are we leaving that alone?
I'll look at that in a minute. Every opportunity to make full use of existing off-street parking and add new parking opportunities as needed to support that development. I think I need a verb. Something like that.
That sounds...
So we're not saying pursued aggressively, but we're saying use what's there and add new parking opportunities as needed to support the development that we want to see in the neighborhood. Because this is a 10-year plan, and it could be that the parking study, which I haven't read either, said that right now there is ample use, but 5 years from now, 8 years from now, we could be in a different situation.
So therefore, the as needed allows us to responsibly handle that. That makes sense to me.
Are you okay with that, Jojo?
That's fine.
So, and what if in the actual text that we also say, including provision of public off-street parking to the greatest extent possible? If we change to the greatest extent possible, we change that to as needed to support.
To the extent as needed, or to the extent needed.
To the extent needed. Is that okay?
Yep.
Comfortable with that?
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
If I can continue, turning to page 11 and RCW 1.2.8, schools and libraries. I appreciated the language here, and I think a lot of us know, especially with school-aged children, that despite the renovation of all the DC public schools, they're already at capacity, and they seem to be designed just for the capacity that was there before the construction began. And I just wanted to point out that we again appreciate as a commission UDC's role in our community, and I'm glad to see that we're encouraging the renovation and improvement of UDC. I have a question about the comment, again on page 11. It seems to be two sentences in the same paragraph. The first sentence talks about the importance of UDC and that it should be renovated and improved, and then it just switches to this boundary change issue, which I think is addressing a separate issue of capacity. And I just want to make sure that we're not suggesting to the council or the drafters of the plan that UDC be somehow viewed as a safety valve for this capacity issue. So I'm just suggesting that we create a new paragraph in the comment, and the new paragraph begin with regard to addressing capacity issues, comma, boundary changes are just one and not necessarily the best, etc.
That's good.
Is that clear?
Yeah, they are two separate issues. But
Yeah.
Not meant to. The boundary changes are just one sentence. Is not meant to apply to the UDC comment. Okay.
And then turning to page, sorry for all this, turning to page 13. This is under the heading RCW 2.1, Connecticut Avenue Corridor, that starts on page 12 and continues on to 13. On page 13, there are a list of bullets. The third to last, and Maliki, you and I exchanged an email today, so I'm not sure the current version, but the third to last bullet on page 13 is pursue a UDC sustainability showcase along corridor. I'm not sure whether there was an agreement that this be a sustainability showcase or a UDC sustainability showcase. Right.
And so they asked the UDC
right.
just pursues the showcase.
Right. I would just offer that as well.
Yeah.
So I would offer that we strike UDC from that.
I actually have done that. So. Okay.
Okay. And then, I think this is my last one. On page 15, policy RCW 2.1.4, coordination between the community and UDC.
So that's been updated.
Yeah, can you read the second sentence to me, Maliki, that begins by encouraging, and whether there is a second sentence there or not?
That sentence hasn't been updated, so it's probably what you have there. By encouraging UDC to make its performing arts theater more available for events that draw in both community and visitors, it will become a beacon for the arts, and Van Ness will become a cultural destination that spurs economic development.
I'm wondering how we can express as a commission the progress that's been made at the Performing Arts Center, the enhancements that have been made, and put this in a tone where we're enhancing, utilizing, taking advantage of this great resource as opposed to making it more available. I mean, maybe it's just the language that's there, but I think we generally would like to see it more available, but I think we could probably take a more positive approach on that. UDC and its community stakeholders working together to make this already rich cultural asset of the Performing Arts Center more available, or something to that degree. I think that I'm concerned that we're sending a signal that that UDC is dragging its heels here, as opposed to there's an opportunity to enhance the use of it.
Okay.
Maliki, we've got
Yeah,
a suggestion
sorry.
maybe from the audience.
I think, again, I'm passing on. You see, they would be okay with just taking out the sentence entirely. I agree, their view is that they've done a lot with Washington Performing Arts, for example, is just so the concept of making it more available, I think, their view is that it is very available to a lot more content. So they would be okay with being able to modify it.
Yeah,
What if we just said, by continuing to make the UDC Performing Arts Theater available for events? Yeah. By continuing to make the UDC Performing Arts Theater available for events that draw in both community and visitors, it will become even stronger.
Will enhance the opportunity of it becoming a cultural destination. Further enhancing the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Continuing to make the UDC Performing Arts Theater and further enhance its place as that's good, as a beacon for the arts. And Venice will
Thank you.
continue to grow as a cultural destination. right.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay.
Very brief comments.
Very brief comments. Any other commissioners? Comments? No? Audience? Anything you wish to say? Marlene, you trekked all the way out here?
Well, I do want to say something about the parking. I have read.
Marlene, would you like to come to the microphone?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Marlene Berlin, on the board of Van Ness Main Street. With respect to the issue of parking, before the current parking study we did, can't even remember, maybe it was the Van Ness Vision Committee. Yeah, we did an informal parking survey, and then we did a more in-depth parking. And I do think there is parking available that is not being utilized because people do not know where to find it. And so I think wayfinding is a really big issue. And I just know in other parts of the city, like Columbia Heights, where they did a whole lot of parking, and their parking is really underutilized. Garage is empty. I know the Giant garage also is not fully utilized. So, and UDC parking, and so I do think that, that until the parking is fully utilized, that, and people know where to find it, I think that is, that we don't have an undercapacity of parking in this area. And I think, just to add, that oftentimes businesses will go there first as their problem. And it may be other issues rather than parking. We have 31 apartment buildings in this area that people can walk to our businesses and feed our businesses. And we have not shaken enough of those people out of their apartments into our commercial district. It's certainly improving. So I just see this as a very complex issue, and it's very easy to go to parking as the problem, but I think that there are lots of contributing issues. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Carrie? Mary Beth, do you have anything?
And this is really I know. Page 8. It's right before 1.2. Sorry.
All these groups.
Yeah, so I'm just concerned that while these groups have played an important role, right 2 sentences above that, we're talking about management main streets.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure that it's clear that while these groups is really talking about the Citizens Association and not the main streets.
The preceding sentence, we see these groups talking about.
So I think maybe.
In the sentence above that the addition, recently the city has sanctioned Main Street. So it seems like you're flipping back and forth between these citizen groups and the Main Street groups.
We just need to move the sentence maybe higher up in the paragraph after you talk about the citizen associations.
We had the citizens recently, just we got it again.
I think it works where it is, but what if we just change these groups and the final one to some groups? Well, some groups, in some cases. Well, is that too general?
Neighborhood associations.
Well, some associations. I think we want to keep recently where it is.
Why don't we just say-
Neighborhood associations have played an important role in preserving single-family home. In some cases, they have opposed.
Okay, just specify. Well, neighborhood associations.
Yeah, let's do that.
With a small n and a small a.
But then these groups in the preceding sentence refers back to main streets.
Doesn't it refer to all of them? I read as it referring to all of the neighborhood associations, the ANCs, the main streets.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
I think it's fair to put Main Street under that same umbrella in that following sentence, right?
And then we'll just say, while neighborhood associations have played an important role. Okay?
Well, since we've reopened this, I have two other. Thank you, Mary Beth. It allowed me to take a few breaths. With your indulgence, on page 10, policy RCW 1.1.14 bicycle facilities. I appreciate the additions made to include Albemarle, Broad Branch, and the connection to Rock Creek. I'm wondering if we shouldn't also give consideration to other secondary roads and possible bike car share lanes. In other words, there are car lanes where the bike symbol is printed, so the bike and the car share the same lane. So the emphasis now seems to be on these primary commuter roads and just a few of the secondary roads, which respectively would include Albemarle on that. So I'm wondering, just thinking out loud, if somebody could help me with either in the primary paragraph or in the comment, probably in the paragraph, include some mention of giving proper consideration or giving consideration to the placement of bicycle lanes on secondary roads and consideration of bike share lanes in the area.
That's a good sentence.
Sure.
Okay.
Say that again. Can you remember it?
What did I say?
Consideration of bike lanes on secondary roads and bike share. What are they called? Bike share lanes.
Bike car share lanes.
Bike car share lanes throughout.
Broader use of bike car share lanes throughout the area.
I understand that to mean facilities meaning the lanes. It was talking about traffic considerations along Connecticut, Wisconsin.
Are we in the right subject area?
I wasn't sure. I guess we are.
Along MacArthur, along Calvert and Albemarle Streets, Broad Branch, and at each of the metro stations.
In addition, give consideration to the installation of secondary roads, or secondary routes, roads, and the use of bike car share lanes throughout the area.
1114. The use of bike car share lanes throughout the area.
Okay, so in addition, give consideration to the installation of bike lanes on secondary roads and the use of bike car share lanes throughout the area.
Yeah,
We'll just add that as a final sentence there.
Thank you.
Okay.
This truly is the last time.
And next time you're going to read. You're going
Yeah, I'm
to
going to write it.
right?
So now I'm not suggesting language. I'm seeking clarification. On page 5.
Which you can also do before the meeting.
On page 5, policy LU 1.3.5, edge conditions around transit stations.
Yep.
So the concept of step down to avoid dramatic contrasts. And then we've added a sentence the exception to this, which I assume is the exception to this step-down approach, is some of the great streets where dense development along the Great Street can and does coexist with low-density residential behind. I'm not sure that is grammatically correct. It does coexist with low-density residential properties behind the great streets or whatever. But what is our goal with this? Are we trying to suggest that that the step-down concept may or may not apply in this neighborhood, or what are we trying to accomplish with this?
That the density could increase along Connecticut Avenue without having to, and still be consistent with the idea of having low-density residential behind it without having that middle density in between.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with that. So thank you.
And that was part of the discussion, I believe, with the woman from Cleveland Park, who was saying, we're concerned in Cleveland Park that if Van Ness goes to higher density, then we'll have to go to higher density as well. And I think it's worth noting that, as you pointed out, Gary, that the comprehensive plan is an umbrella for the entire city, and there's flexibility within it to allow individual neighborhoods to apply based on the zoning that applies in their neighborhood.
Right, and so our use of the word, the exception to this is some of the great streets where, so I assume that one of the great streets being Connecticut Avenue, that we still, depending on the area along Connecticut Avenue, that there might be different zoning or
right.
Or
we are zoned differently.
I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement with that, and that's what it's saying. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, and there are great streets in the Northeast, not all Connecticut is Wisconsin, and this is general.
Right. So there's flexibility throughout the district and throughout the number of great streets, but I want to also make sure that within the confines of one great street, Connecticut Avenue, that there's also the needed flexibility if the desire of Cleveland Park is different than Van Ness or DuPont Circle. Yep. Right. Right. Well, I know that had received some attention on listservs and elsewhere. I just want to make sure we're all in agreement. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you. That improves it. So the next step is, once we approve these proposed amendments, we will turn them into actual amendments to the document. There's a form that we'll have to fill out that we'll ask Rachel to help us with. We've got 10 days from today to get that done. So that's why these are so detailed, actually, with comments explaining the rationale behind a lot of our proposed amendments, because in the form itself, it asks for explanations and justifications. So we put all of that in here. Okay, so seeing no further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor of the resolution as amended? The resolution and comments as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 6-0. Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Gary, and everyone else who weighed in. It was really a very, very good collaborative process. Appreciate it.
We already voted.
Well, thank you. That's why we get paid the big bucks. Okay. So we'll move on to other business. Treasurer's report.
Yes. In brief, since our April meeting, ANC 3F has received $1,301.62. We have expended $5,990.82 for a bank balance of $81,494.21. And I did circulate more specific breakdown of those expenditures and receipts to the commissioners prior to the meeting.
So why did we only get 1,000 some? Is that
So
our?
there was actually not the district allotment. This was a refund from the IRS. Apparently, we overpaid and got interest for it. We still haven't figured out exactly how we overpaid. Since
Interest for overpayments.
yeah, we actually got some interest for overpaying as well. So we're still unraveling the mystery of how we overpaid since we used computations provided to us by the ANC office. Nevertheless, we were happy it went this direction. So that was it. It wasn't our allotment. That explains the
I
connection.
vote that we add that to the autism grant.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other business they wish to raise? Okay, I have one item. I would like to make a motion that the commission spend up to $1,250 on technology equipment for our admin assistant. I previewed this for the commission in my email a week and a half ago. I think it's important that we have an ANC laptop, that our admin assistant not be required to use her own laptop for the ANC work, and that we have loaded onto that laptop full versions of Microsoft Office and Adobe, since those are two pieces of software that we use most frequently. And I think that we could probably do all that for about $1,000. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
What did you call it? The computer equipment? What's the motion exactly?
Dude, you're getting it down.
On computer equipment.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to spend up to $1,250 on computer equipment for administrative assistant for ANC3.
Equipment and software.
The software includes transcribing ability, so we don't have to take minutes.
And pulls David's edits out of his head before he gets here.
Right.
So any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Passes. Okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. 8:59.
Look at that.
All right. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hi. Okay, so Maliki,
Yeah.
I've edited this. What do I do? What do I do with it?
Give it. I will.